As we all know, there are different genres of music: rap, R&B, pop rock, and even more. But most of this music is played as mainstream. For those who do not know what mainstream music is music that you hear mainly every day, either on the radio or someone's phone or a music device. What if I told you that there is other music out there with the same genres, but it's called underground? Would you be interested? For those who do not know what underground music is a term that has been applied to various artistic movements, but recently has been defined by musicians who avoid being trapped by the music industry, or music that is heard by producers but is not brought to the radio because the producers choose what the people of today want to hear. Do you think that's unfair for those who are trying to make it? Underground music is also defined as an unknown music culture, and most people prefer to listen to underground music other than mainstream. Which goes to ask, which do you prefer, mainstream or underground, and why? Also goes to ask, why isn't underground played on a daily basis?
My name's Avery Farmer. I'm a hip-hop artist. I love music. It's the best thing I felt, I guess, man could have ever brought into this world in a sense. So, yeah, I love music.
My name is Nick Rowley. I work here at Carrot Top Distribution or Saki Records.
My name is Robin Lienga.
Juwan Sterling. I go by Juju, Double Ju.
My name is Jesse De La Pena. I'm here from Chicago. I work in music. I've been involved in DJing for over 25 years, and I currently work for a small radio station here in Chicago called Vocalo Radio. I'm the music curator, and I host and produce a 6-hour DJ show on Friday nights.
My name is Marcel Vidal-Hames, and I'm a musician.
My name's Nicholas Hennessy. I'm a musician also. We're both from the Omais.
Big Baby with double G's.
My name is Anthony Dean.
Yeah, Chicago's favorite nerdy, Y.G.
When I think about the term of underground music, it reminds me of, or helps me think, like it's music that's being unappreciated, music that's being undermined, that's not given the light that it's supposed to be given.
Think about bands that are kind of trying to find their way of finding fans and getting their music out to people without necessarily the help of a big major label or corporate money.
Think of indie music that is more emotional.
It seems like it's kind of changed the definition of what that means over the years. I mean, back when, maybe in the 90s, you know, there was underground house music, underground hip hop. I think it was stuff that wasn't that accessible, stuff that wasn't necessarily being played on commercial radio. Maybe it was being played on college radio, and it was just kind of not in, you know, everybody's kind of immediate grasp. You had to kind of search for it a little bit.
It's very different today now that we've got the internet, because people are able to find out about your music much easier than they were, say, 20 years ago if you're just a small band from a smaller town, not in New York or LA.
Music that isn't being promoted as well or funded by the mainstream, you know, record companies and all that. People who are doing it on their own.
Not less fortunate, but artists who don't get as much attention as mainstream artists.
Bands that are out touring constantly, self-promoting. Yeah, I think it's just kind of like got a good DIY attitude to it.
I mean, oftentimes the beginning of what ends up being mainstream music once they buy it out. You know, the origins of hip hop and everything else all started off as underground things, and you know, then corporations came through and co-opted them. But you know, it's the root of, you know, most music.
Real. It's raw. It's rough. Like it's, you know, it's somebody hungry, somebody thirsty to get to that mainstream level.
It's rappers from the streets making music, not like people signed to labels and stuff.
People who grind. I don't know, cause I do underground music too. So, and a lot of people I know that do underground music is they mostly grinding hard.
I think mainstream music is played more than underground music because there's more hype to the music, there's more well-known artists.
Simply put, because they're feeding what the people want to hear.
Mainstream is being known by more radio stations because it's more into the music industry rather than underground.
Mainstream music is played more often than underground music for a lot of reasons. Most of them having to do with money. You know, who's funding your distribution and how your music gets out there. You know, whether or not you're actually connected with like Clear Channel or other things like that, which pretty much decide every single song that's on the radio. So if you're listening to the radio and you hear the same song on every single radio station, it's because they're all owned by the same people.
There's a lot of big money behind it. Record labels, marketing, a lot of different avenues to really get the word out when it comes to certain music. I mean, you could explore payola and kind of that aspect of it. That's kind of been going on for many years. But I mean, I just think there's a lot of money behind mainstream music, and it's a big investment. And you know, underground music, it's more do-it-yourself and it's small labels, so they don't have the resources I think a lot of major labels or more mainstream music does.
For you to be like #1 on a Billboard chart, you used to have to sell millions of records, and I think now you can sell like 500,000 records or something like that. So the margin is kind of shrinking a little bit between the two, but again, I would say it's just corporate money, having managers who can get you involved with really big things.
So you may have a program director in a certain market who kind of oversees, you know, what is played, but I think different individual markets, you're probably dealing with a program director, a PD, or someone like myself. I'm a music curator, but I don't work for a commercial radio station. So I have a lot more freedom to play what I want to play. I don't have really an agenda, or I don't really have anybody saying, you must play this or you must feature this thing. We're kind of left to our own. It's kind of a trade-off because we do a lot of things since we're a small station, but we get a lot of freedom too.
The shows tend to be a little bit more intimate. If you go see, you know, someone who, like Lady Gaga, who's a huge mainstream artist, you're gonna see her with thousands and thousands of fans, where as with a more underground band, you can go see them live in an intimate setting with maybe only 100, 200 people. So you feel a lot more connected to the music, it's a little bit more personal.
Love, say love. Love. One more time, love. Love. All right. Say sweet. Sweet. Say what, sweet?
It is what it is. Music is a cycle. You know, everybody starts off hungry, and then, you know, you start getting money, and then the music changes. So I mean, that's just how it goes. That's how it's gonna be.
The difference I would say between mainstream and underground is probably money. I think that's probably where it is.
Anybody who isn't in the mainstream or on the radio and makes music is an underground artist, and that is a huge community in every city, in every country, in the entire world. There's a lot of musicians that aren't on the radio. So actually, probably underground music has more listeners, more artists, more followers, but just not the money behind it, not the radio stations behind it.
Everybody needs someone to love. I need you back. Love for your gut, be so fine. You be mad. Everybody needs someone to love. I need you back. Love for your gut, be so fine. You be mad. I told you what I want from you. What you like you posting you for me would be so good like a ecstasy. For you.
Underground, it's more real.
would all instantly prefer underground music.
I personally prefer underground music, I suppose, to mainstream. Part of it is there's a joy and kind of self-discovery with a lot of that style.
I prefer mainstream over underground because I don't really know that much of underground because I don't get to hear that much of it, unlike mainstream where if I listen to the radio I'm gonna hear.
I prefer underground music because it's more unique and less produced and commercial.
I prefer underground music because I don't like listening to music that gets played out like quickly. And I think there's a lot of undiscovered talent out there that people aren't aware of.
It really don't matter to me, but I say underground because of where I came from.
I prefer good music, whatever it is, you know. I mean, some of mainstream music is really bad, and some underground music is really bad. A lot more of the mainstream music is bad by by percentage-wise, but I feel like if the music is good, period, it's worth listening to.
I just think good music is good music. Sometimes it's something that's on a major label and maybe a lot of people know about it. I tend to gravitate probably towards more lesser known stuff, so more underground. But I listen to a little bit of everything since I do work in radio, and I do find stuff that maybe is a B-side cut, or maybe there's something on an album that's not going to be played as a single, and it could be considered, more mainstream, but probably prefer more the unknown stuff, more the underground stuff, most of the time.
Music is so, it's so much opinionated based on I would say I don't like music that sounds like garbage, but you could maybe listen to one of my records that I enjoy and be like, ooh, that is a stinker.
Anytime you're dealing with music or older, newer, younger, older, there's going to be always so many different opinions on, what people like, and everybody's entitled to their own, what they're into, what they dig. I would say just be more open-minded to other types of music. There may come something that an artist you really like, and you buy the album because that record gets played all the time. You may experiment with the album he did before or she did before and hear something like, wow, I didn't even think I liked this type of music. So there's always, more to that. And like even just thinking about certain artists you like, they obviously got inspired by somebody else too. So they could always turn you on to a whole other, stream of music or creativity that you had no idea that they were into, So it's kind of like just be a little more open-minded when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, older folks, don't just write off the youth, and younger folks, do your homework, figure out where this stuff came from.
Performing it's fun. It's a whole different experience than recording in a studio or anything like that, because the vibe is that you're giving off energy and receiving energy and trying to give it back from a crowd, especially with a band like us, sort of all working together and knowing where we are in a song or a set list. Being hyper conscious of each other and where we're at, and then also having fun, because if you're not having fun, then it's gonna show.
It's instant gratification, which a lot of artists of different mediums, a lot of, if you paint a painting, you might never get to hear what a room of 200 people felt about that painting your entire life. But if